People ask me all the time why, as a Christian, I would ever bother speaking to demons. Oh, we're not supposed to talk to demons. We're supposed to hate demons, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. All the fucking time I get this kind of stuff. But here's the thing. I was looking into a little something I wanted to talk about on one of my Patreon posts. This actually Tibetan Buddhist concept of however you pronounce this. I believe it's Hud. I'm going purely based off what I know of these four letters. But still, this kind of concept of that is to feed your demons. And as I was looking into the 5 steps of doing so as well, and like figuring out like who came up with it and like who kind of thought about it, which was this Tibetan Buddhist nun, actually. Very interesting that this is the sentiment that I have always gotten when I work with demons, and that this sentiment actually lines up very well with what I know of Jesus' own commandment, which with what I know of things like Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, and a lot of other stuff. And that is that by approaching a demon, whatever it is, with openness and curiosity, and dare I say even love, by putting yourself into the shoes of whatever thing it is that you have personified, that this demon, whatever it might be it I don't know, some kind of vice or anything like that. When you personify it, talk to it, and put yourself in its shoes, you can empathize, understand, and see what its core need is. And most interestingly of all, when you feed it, when you give it the attention that it needs, when you give it the nurture and the love that it needs, the demon itself becomes a good spirit, turns into an ally instead of an enemy. When Christians hold this extremely rote view of demons, and they're like, oh, you have to hate them, you have to exorcise them, you have to run from them, you have to battle them, blah, blah, blah. When they put this really violent language on them, this whole concept just validates what I know, which is that Christians doing this are never going to actually understand what Jesus means when he says love your enemy. Because when Jesus says love your enemy, I don't think it's just, to prove how righteous and good you are, or to be pure and of yourself, but also for the potential that you might love your enemy enough to listen to them, to understand them, to see where they're coming from, and to maybe potentially one day turn that enemy into a brother. When I listen to the demons, I don't find any of these horrible, terrible things that people tell me I'm going to. At least not anymore. In the beginning, I absolutely had encounters with these demons that I could see very plainly what they were immediately. Like, I never felt like scared with the demons. I'm sure if they wanted to really bad, they could. But whenever I was affronted, or when I was really confronted with something terrible by these demons, it was always to see what my reaction would be, right? It was a one question test, is what it was. And if I freaked out and well, okay, there you go. But if I just stayed calm and curious and asked questions, I ended up finding a lot of more interesting things behind it. And that's when the demon also would unlock more of their true sentiments and their true face. And that's when I began to understand and empathize with and defend the demons a little bit more, because I started to understand a little bit more of them and started to understand them not as my enemies but as my brothers. When both Jesus Christ and this Tibetan Buddhist nun are both forsaking all earthly riches, cavorting with lepers and the absolute dregs of society and whatever, going out doing all these things, it's because when you can look at the worst, the scariest, the most alien, the most terrible thing in the entire universe, which many people consider to be demons, these manifestations of all things bad and terrible, when you can look at even that and empathize with and love that and see them for who they are and not who everyone else tells you they are, how much easier is it to look at another person and do the same? The other person still being like you, a person. When you can look at a demon and you can hear them and you can understand them, and maybe not always agree with them, but at least understand them and work with them and accept them for who they are. If you can do that with a demon, you can do that with anybody. Anybody. And I would like to think that when Jesus went down into the depths, into Hades, into Sheol, into even hell, whatever you want to think it is, during that Passion story, during Good Friday, after he dies, he goes down. He goes down into that. I would like to think he didn't just pull people back up and out, but I would like to think that he pulled spirits up and out as well. Everyone says demons are the worst of the worst, and sure, they can really push you, and they can really confront you with some crazy stuff. But I have as much love for the demons as I do for the angels. Not out of some, pitying or oh, you poor little things type of thing, but just out of the fact that they are autonomous consciousnesses that are worth listening to, that are worth treating with respect as much as any other spirit. Sure, they can be dangerous. So can angels. And sure, they can be capricious. So can certain pagan deities. It really doesn't matter what you might say about them. You can find their qualities in many of the things we would call divine as well. And you can find pretty fucking scary qualities in anything we would find in divine or anything else like that. You can find pretty dangerous and horrifying things in even the stuff we're told is good, just as much as you can find good and wise things in what we're told is horrifying. It's all connected to each other. And if the fruits of the Spirit are these things, and it's by working with demons that I've truly come to understand and embody these things and to become a calmer person and to become a more merciful and forgiving person, I don't know. The results kind of speak for themselves. That's kind of my litmus test, if something is worth it or not. What are the fruits? In this case, the fruits are exactly what the Bible tells me I should be getting. The proof is in the pudding. And that's just all there is to it.